G'day everybody. This podcast episode I sat with Luke Cutting. Luke was the original co-host of the Winging It podcast. We did it together for maybe a few months. However, because he was going traveling, we stopped recording them together. So it was really nice to chat with him again, hear a bit about his trip through Italy. He recently completed his 6-week van trip, so it was nice to hear some stories and talk about his future backpacking plans and etc. If you want to see what he's up to over the next few months, then go to @VanWanderer on Instagram. Cheers, guys. Yeah, I could do that too.
Comfortable.
Dude.
Yes.
Dude.
Back in business, baby.
It feels so weird to have you behind the mic again because it's given me
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has been a while.
Now look at you, you've got your summer shirt on.
Yeah, I'm
You've got,
feeling it.
You're chilling out with the mic on your knee.
Yeah,
like no one has done that before.
Just relaxed.
Dude.
Just getting back into it, What can you say? The weather's beautiful here.
Yeah.
It's like what I've been used to for the last 6 weeks traveling around.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I've seen your stuff and I'm like,
if only.
Must be nice.
I'll tell you what, it is.
Yeah.
It is very nice.
All right, everybody listening, if you don't know Luke, go and check out the first 15, 16 podcasts because they were all with Luke and Johnny. Yeah. Luke's from Australia and he originally came here, I guess, 2.5 years ago or so. And you've been living here for a while. You went on a bit of a trip to Italy.
Yep.
And which is why we didn't do the podcast together anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a bit of backstory behind you.
Yeah, and now I'm back. I've done the trip. Still planning on going further, but previously I was cruising around in the van, and now it's just going to be the backpack and myself, a tent. It's going to be a bit of a downgrade, going from having a kitchen and somewhere warm to sleep, a nice comfy bed,
like a heater, a
fan. Everything that goes with it.
Yeah, well, not that you need a heater, but
I mean, definitely didn't need a heater there. Oh man, I tell you what, the best thing when I first left here, right? I think it was about 13 degrees, and it was pissing down with rain. And so you have to cross into Germany, come back into Austria, and then you go into Italy. And I didn't even realize that I crossed the border into Italy. There was no border control. It was just sort of like cruise through 100, 110. The only thing that I noticed was it started to get a little bit drier and it started to get warmer.
Yeah.
With every 10 or 15 kilometers, it got 5, 6, 7 degrees warmer. And going from this freezing temperatures and rain, it just sort of stopped all of a sudden. And then it was 25, 30, 32, 35. And I'm like, I'm in heaven.
As you're driving.
I'm back home.
It's happening.
It's happening. Why didn't I do this ages ago?
I love
it. It was honest. And then from that day forward, I don't think we had a day under about 30 degrees.
That's so sick, dude. Because we spent a lot of... So, in winter, which was when we started
spent a lot of
podcast,
time complaining.
100%.
Yeah.
We'd get together and the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we'd just be complaining about the weather.
It's so cold. This is bullshit. I hate it here. Where's the warm weather?
And then for you to now go through this transitional period of driving to Italy where it's gradually getting warmer and warmer.
Yeah, but it slapped me back in the face when I come back.
Yeah,
I come back through Croatia and Slovenia, and then I got back into Austria at about, 11 o'clock at night. And it was freezing. And again, it was raining. It was like I never left. It was exactly the same as when I left, only 6 weeks later. And I thought to myself, I can't do this. I can't be here for this long.
Yeah, dude. But, I mean, you're only here for a short time. You're trying to sell the van,
only a short time,
yeah.
Sell the van. If it doesn't sell, then, hopefully it will. But if it doesn't, I'm still getting back on the road. There's no point in waiting around.
Yeah.
No point. Life does not wait for anyone. So
yeah,
go out there and chase the dream again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's been interesting. It was one hell of a trip.
Yeah.
There's stories to tell.
I'm ready to hear some stories. You got to tell me about... I asked you before when you came back the first time, I said, what's the most memorable time? And I want you to tell that story, surely, because you said the time when your van got towed.
Yeah, and this all happened within the first 3 or 4 days of traveling, right? So I arrived in Pisa. I was going to meet up with some friends for a birthday.
Yeah.
after the birthday, we all decided that we'd go out and we'd go to this this waterfall where you can slide down. It's a natural formation, and you can slide through the rocks. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm in. I'll take the van because we're going to go camping that night.
Yeah.
Anyway, I parked up. Now, in Italy, anyone that's been there, you know that the driving skills are... They're not great.
Under optimal.
It's not fantastic. So we've pulled into this parking bay. Now, mind you, this isn't a parking bay with white lines and it doesn't have bitumen or anything like that. It's just dirt. There's a hill on the side and there's a creek that goes down. Everyone was sort of like half-assed parked everywhere. I've pulled up in the van. Now, it's a lot bigger than all the cars that they were driving there. So I was like, I picked a spot. It was right in front of a couple of wheelie bins. And I thought, this is the ultimate. There's nothing on the ground saying that I can't park here. There's nothing anywhere saying that you can't park in a certain area. So I was like, oh, I'll park here. I was probably the only person that was actually off the main part of the road. Thought, not a problem. The security, or it wasn't police, but it was sort of like some sort of security drove past. I gave him a wave. I got a wave back. And the car was there. So I'm assuming that if there was a problem, I would have been informed at that stage. So we've gone out 3 or 4 hours. Swimming around, we do our thing, we come back. Now, I was a little bit ahead of the other guys, and it never even crossed my mind, like, a car could get stolen. Now, and I have a really bad habit of not locking the car. I'm from Australia. We're lucky to even turn the car off if we go into a petrol station, into a supermarket, anywhere, right? Otherwise, we do turn it off, but we just leave our keys in it, and then we'll just leave. So I've got in the habit of I've locked it. I've taken the keys with me, and I only had my shorts, my singlet, my phone, the wallet, and my passport. Everything was in the car.
So
everything
crazy.
I own was in the car. So we've come back. I get around the corner, and I sort of look, and I'm like, "Where's my van?" And it's not like you can't see my van. It's a big white bus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh shit, maybe there was another parking bay like a little bit further." So I walked a little bit further, and I'm like, "There's definitely no other parking bay here." The van was parked, and I seen the bins, and I'm like, shit, my car's been stolen. It's definitely not here. And I sort of looked at the other guys, and I'm like, guys, my van's gone. And they're having a laugh, like, nah, you're joking. And then we're all looking around for it. This is not a big parking bay. There was like 30 cars or something in there, 25, 30 cars. We've come to the conclusion that the van is obviously not there, all of us, all together. And it wasn't for the fact, so I was looking on the ground, like exactly where the car was, just sort of stumped going, like, what am I going to do? Like, how the hell do we resolve this issue? And on the ground, there was like some big slide marks, and there was sort of like an indication to me, like, oh, maybe someone's towed it. It hasn't been stolen, which is a plus. It's been dragged away. So I said to the guys, I was like, oh, can you, because they're Italian, and I don't speak Italian, and the Italian police don't speak English. So even if I did call, the conversation would go absolutely nowhere. So they're on the phone. They've called him up. They said, hey, look, we're at such and such. We had a car, but it's not here. We think it's been towed. Do you know anything? They said, no, we don't know anything. We're going to send some people out. So they sent out these two police officers. And it didn't get any better because they made a few phone calls. About 20 minutes later, we're all talking to them. And one of the police officers goes, we've got in contact with one of these towing companies. They think that maybe they've towed your car. Not 100% sure. Can't guarantee that it was this company, but they did tow a white van this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then they said something. So they were explaining it to my friend Danny, and then Danny was translating it to me. And they said this to Danny, and then Danny turned around to me and said, oh, your car, they put a note in the dash, between the window and the dash, of where your car is. And I looked at Danny, and I'm like, I think I misunderstood what just come out of your mouth. Can you ask them again just to repeat exactly what they said? Danny turned around and said exactly the same thing. And I looked at Danny, and I'm like, if there's a note in the window of the car, if I find the car, I don't need the note. And if I find the note, I've found the car. That does not help me at all. So I had to, I had to pay them. I had to pay them €30 for coming out and giving me no information whatsoever. Right? We had to drive around. We ended up finding this guy. It cost me €150 to get it out of the compound. Very lucrative kind of business going on there. But yeah, like I was saying to you, so I rang up my parents and I told them the story. And Dad said to me, he's like, oh, it's literally like turning up at your house and you've just got concrete left. Everything else is gone. All the timber, all the bricks, the roof, your bed, your toilet, your shower, everything is gone. And honestly, because that was
but then more
everything that
importantly, your passport was in there. Everything, your credentials,
everything
your identity,
everything that I
Luke
owned.
Cutting was in there.
I was in the car, except I was left there with nothing. And I'm going, if I don't get this back, I can't even show the police. I couldn't even give them money or show identification because my wallet was in the car. They were like, "Oh, how do we know it's yours?" And I was like, "Because when we turn up there and find it, I'll get my wallet out of the car." And
you had the car keys, right?
I had the car keys,
so I
could unlock it, right? And they're like, "Oh, do you have a license or a passport?" I'm like, "It's in the car. Everything is in the car. Without that, I'm screwed. I'm just stuck on the side of the road."
Dude, you're lucky.
But it crosses your mind because I was like, "Shit, what happens what if I was there without any help from
exactly
like my friends,
Italian
right?
speakers,
people that speak Italian?" And I'm going, I would have called the police. I'd have been like, "Hey guys, can you help me with the situation?"
Beep,
and then it beep, beep, beep. And I'd be like,
just hung up on
beautiful. So I'm stuck here with a phone, no wallet, no money, pair of shorts and a singlet. And I'm like, yeah, great. So I think this was on like the third or fourth day of going away. So it was a great start to the trip. I made a little note up on my dash that said, just number one rule, do not get the car towed. So if you ever park somewhere and you think even the slightest little thought that this is the wrong place to park the car, just move. Drive to the next town, drive to the next city, go to another country if you have to, because you cannot lose this car.
Oh, man. Did you keep your stuff on you from that time on?
No, I still left it in the car. I still left it there. I haven't learned the lesson, but hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I hate that they towed it though. It's so
it was actually funny because there were two or three other people got parking tickets, and this one lady,
but
right? Not me. I got towed. The only thing that
the biggest car, by the way.
The biggest car, honestly. They would have had to turn up with a pretty big truck to get this, and that was a lot of effort to get that thing on there, right? But this lady was sort of like, in my defense, she was saying to the police, I was getting translated. She was saying like, yeah, the only reason you're taking the car is because you want money, and it's only because he's from a different country, and everyone else here got parking tickets. Why couldn't you just give him a parking ticket? And I'm in the background just like, yeah, hey, why couldn't you just give me a parking ticket? That would have been perfect because I don't have to pay the extra money, and I don't have to stress. Like, my heart sunk.
It's like
when I walked around the corner, I was just like, this is not happening. This cannot be happening to me.
If these guys' cars get taken, it's not their life in it. They don't have a bed in it. Like, I mean, I bet you it's because you go to Austrian number plates. And that's the reason. They're like, this guy's foreign, it's a tourist, just take his money.
Get a bit of money out of it, yeah. Hey.
Well,
I mean, it is what it is, but it was an interesting start to the trip. Yeah, it only got up from there. So,
yeah, and it's the risk you take, I guess, when you travel in a van.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a risk.
So from there on, I just parked in all places where I was away from everyone. And I stayed by the van.
Good.
Quite often.
Good job. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sleeping in it and they try and tow it. But
I actually thought about this probably like a week or so after. I'm like laying in the van. I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to wake up one night and I just hear this like beep, beep, beep. And then the car's just like, and then I wake up in the morning in a compound.
You're in like,
it's like open up the door and I'm like, hey guys. Didn't realize I parked here.
Oh, that's crack up.
That would have been the perfect story. Just like wake up in the morning and be like, oh shit, I'm at a mechanic. What happened here? Must have had a few beers last night.
It's like completely different city.
No, but apart from that, it's you can't beat it. It's to be living in Austria for a certain amount of time, and sort of putting these things on hold, really, like putting on it's always travelled beforehand, and then being here, like I was here for a person, and now obviously not with a person, or not obviously, but I'm not with a person, so now I'm just like, I don't have any ties to be in Austria.
Yeah.
It's still like, I mean, there's a part of me here. You can't spend, it's almost 3 years being here.
Yeah.
You can't spend that amount of time, make friends, be doing things like this, interacting, have a job, just whatever comes with all of it. And then be like, and just be like, leave without feeling anything. But at the same time, just getting back on the road, doing exactly what I was doing beforehand. It's funny to think that, I suppressed it for so long, being like, oh no, I'll wait for a little bit longer. But now, what are we waiting for? I mean, yeah, Corona happened. We had to wait for everything. But now, it's just basically, from what I experienced, seems like everything's sort of gone back to normal.
Yeah.
to an extent. I mean, not 100%, but it's as free as free.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel that, like, traveling, like, man, being back on the road and just cruising around. It's a feeling that you cannot describe unless you're doing it. I mean, you can describe it to be like, yeah, it's amazing. You just don't have to. You can plan your own days. You don't have to go to work. You can just go if you want to pick to go over here, or you want to stay there. You want to stay for a week or only one day. You can do it. You can describe that to someone. But then when you're actually doing it, and in your mind, it just goes from from a normal working day, 5 days a week or 6 days a week, and then going basically just to nothing, but also doing a lot. It's life.
I can imagine.
It's living.
It's tricky because, like, your job wasn't the perfect job, right? Like,
No.
you didn't enjoy it that much, and your boss wasn't that nice to you, and all these kind of situations meant you
Go on.
in that situation when you're working, like, you're thinking, would be nice to be traveling right now, and you'd had that thought,
mate, every day.
Okay,
when
every
I
day.
wake up in the morning.
Yeah, and it's like to be like
what
for
am I
me,
turning up
like
here for?
for you to be able to just go,
Pack
like,
up and leave.
I was there with you the day before you left, just
Yeah.
having, a farewell thing. And, like, I don't know, just like, it's a weird thing, but it's also like, I felt so happy, so stoked for you. I mean, I still do, knowing that you've just, like, you came today with a backpack and that's it, basically. And you could just go wherever you want. I said this to you before, it was like it's just so freeing. I don't know. That's you as well. That's your personality. I think that's so sick.
Just to pick a destination. Yeah, because a lot of people ask, like, because I've got ideas on where I want to go next. I'd love to go back to Croatia, but also over to Portugal or Spain. And then in my mind, I'm like, I'm not that far away from Budapest where I've worked before.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I could duck over there. And it's like, well, what direction do you go in? But I think it's just going to come down to, like, you're either going to go, because I would like to do a lot of hitchhiking, because it's an interesting way to get around.
Yeah.
To just cruise around where you end up. If you don't end up somewhere where you got to deal with the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
And it's just like with the van, it's so easy. You've got everything in there. You don't have to worry about, like, you can pull up on the side of the road in a petrol station, and you have it's a mini house. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
But when you've got a tent that you have to set up, if it's raining, if it's cold, I've got this tiny little cooker that I take with me. I mean, it's not as easy as just to be like, you can't just set up a tent in the street somewhere or in a park, because it just seems a little bit odd.
Yeah.
But that sort of, for me, that seems more exciting than having this van, this easy lifestyle of just cruising around and being like, yeah, I can do whatever and just go here, stay here for as long as I want.
Do you think that you'll ever lose this?
No.
Do you think that you'll ever not feel like this?
No, I think I've felt like this ever since I could feel like this, from like 8-10 years old. From traveling with mum and dad to now. I don't think it's a feeling that goes. I think it'll be a feeling that you can, like I've been doing here. I pushed it back because I had other ideas on at the time. But I want to keep that feeling for as long as possible. And now I can look after myself and do whatever I want for myself.
Yeah.
100% just keep that on a roll. And when you finally get somewhere, like, the ultimate idea is find somewhere that you can sort of settle down to. I want to be going back to Australia. That's like the next, when that happens.
Just a long-term goal, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely long-term. That's a good way to describe it, because it's, however this is working at the moment, it's all...
with COVID or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The COVID situation
mate.
in New Zealand and Australia is very similar. And basically, I mean, you can probably know more than me, but you kind of need to go on a waiting list to get back to your own country.
They've dropped the ball on that one.
Let me just explain this. You are a citizen of a country. You're a person that's listening to this right now, yet you cannot go home to your country.
No.
That sucks. I mean, you can go home, but you have to go on a waiting list.
You have to go
Luke has to... You've got to wait until, you said, approximately December before you might have a flight.
Yeah.
December.
Yeah.
These people, like... It's frustrating, man. You can't go home to your own country. You could, like, imagine if you had kids. Like, you don't, obviously, but if you had kids back in Australia,
I don't know.
You couldn't.
After this trip.
All right, that took a turn. That took a turn.
Nah, just kidding. Yeah, no, but I know what you mean. Yeah, if you have to go home for something, then you'd be spewing. But I mean, that's the benefit for me. That's why I want to make the most of this time.
Sure.
Because in my head, I'm going. I've got the next 3 to 4 months. Come December, January, to just sort of wander, to go around and just just do as I please, or as I'd like to do.
which is what you're good at. That's you. You're like,
not working and just doing absolutely nothing every day.
I think of it as in the van, like when I go anywhere in the van with you, where I had, so obviously not for a while now, but when we used to go, you know everything. If that van was to break down, you'd know what to do. If we made a campfire and you know how to set it up, you know how to do you're so clever-minded with camping, with traveling, with this and that and this, because you've probably just done it so much, especially in Australia.
That was just my life. That's not even like, that was my life growing up. There was no, you'd say, oh, you went camping or you went camping and you did this and you did, but it wasn't. We just did that. That was just normal things to be doing. Whereas other people would be like, yeah, we go camping like 2, 3, 4 times a year. We did that every weekend, all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of my life, I don't know if people know what a swag is, but when we first went traveling in Australia, I spent on a 12-month period, probably about 7 months, 8 months sleeping in a swag outside. As a kid, I think I was 12 years old, 13 years old.
Okay.
Every night just sleeping outside, because that was just a thing to do. Go away with dad, go away with mum, go away with cousins, family. It was just, that was the lifestyle that we lived. And that's what's now, I just want to do that, over here.
Did other people do that from your town? You're from Jamestown, which is quite a small town. Did other people do that?
A lot of people did, yeah.
Okay.
It was it's a country town. A lot of people, that's just their upbringing, you know.
Yeah.
It's the way of living out there.
Yeah. Well, we didn't do that to the extreme, but we definitely did it because we're in the countryside too, where I was brought up, and we would do that stuff more than the city folk.
Ah, yeah. 100%.
So it's definitely like you do that stuff more when you're in a country town or when you're
brought up around it. And then it just lives inside you and it grows a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. Which is it makes you today, and that's why you kind of have this urge all the time and
to constantly be doing something. Eventually, it will have to dwindle down to a point where you go. I mean, I look at mum and dad. They're doing exactly the same thing as me. And they're in their late 50s.
Yeah, they might change things. They might not party as much, or they might not go to a hostel. But
they smash the parties, man. I'll tell you what, mate. No, I won't even touch on that topic. But geez, I reckon they hit it harder than what we do. No. But I'm saying more in the sense of like they've built it. They travelled a lot before they had kids.
Yeah.
As a couple, they travelled a lot when they were single. But they've just kept that whole lifestyle continuing for their entire life. And why not? Why can't you do that?
No, that's what you should do.
It seems to be working at the moment because I get asked that question, like even coming back here or even from people back at home, like, oh, how do you do this? How do you afford it? How do you just move from one place to another? I don't know. It just seems to work. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I put it down to I work hard for a certain period of time and then I go enjoy it. That's really all it comes down to. You can't say, oh, I don't know. There's no theory behind it on how you can sustain that. If you're doing media production or whatever and you can work on the road, I don't work on the road. I do a labour job where you have to be in a workshop or somewhere physically by a company to do it. If you work by yourself, then you have to have a company situated in one spot.
Yeah.
So I don't work on the road and make money on the road. It just comes down to, and then I laugh at these people. They're like, "Oh yeah, the money must come from somewhere, or someone's got to pay you to do this." It's like, no, if it's in your mind and you have an idea on how it can work out, it's going to work.
And I think that I share a similar perspective when it comes to not necessarily, obviously, savings priority, but also living is a priority, right? Like, and if you saved everything that you had and you didn't have any excitement in your life, you never went on a holiday, you never really did anything that was out of the ordinary, just because you were trying to save for a house or you're trying to save for anything. From my point of view, that's a bad way to live life. I hope I can say this and it's not a problem, but one of my friends back home knows someone that did that, and she worked in the mines, and she worked so hard. And then she was diagnosed
accumulated all this money and this wealth and everything behind to build up.
She was going to retire, or she was going to take a lot of time off, or something like that. So she was essentially working her ass off for
a later
something. Yeah,
later journey.
And then she was diagnosed with a terminal illness or something, and she was said like, you're going to die, and that blew my mind. And because I'm also in this dilemma where I'm like, okay, should I be saving? Should I feel guilty for buying this right now? And then it's like, well, hold on. You got to live your life as well.
Yeah.
You can't just focus on some day that doesn't exist yet because you think that you need a house or you think you need this because other people are doing it. And I think that that's important when I see you live as well. I'm like, well,
Pick the priorities.
yeah, like if you 100%, it's super important. I think you need a balance. You can't spend everything that you earn because then you're screwed.
I said this to you the other day about when I'm talking about selling the van. Now I've invested 15,000 with the van and everything together. 15,000 in that. My theory is that money that I've invested into it, I've already spent it, so it's not there anymore, right? So that's one time I've spent 15,000.
Yeah.
When I get the 15,000 back, if I spend that one more time on doing things that I want to do for fun, I've already missed it once. So missing it a second time, it was the money from the first time. So in my mind, it's going, okay, a year and a half ago, I put 15,000 away. Now I built a van. I traveled in it. I did exactly what I want. I get the 15,000 back. Everything that I've done in that van is free. Now I've got 15,000 to spend again. So in total, it's 30 grand that you've spent when you've only invested 15 into it. To go on to the next project, to go on to the next adventure. So
you're saying you've lived without 15 grand, which you spent on the van ages ago. You've lived without it now for so long.
Yeah, lived without it for so long that when it comes back, it was already gone.
Yeah.
That was the mindset behind it. I knew that there was a goal to go, okay, this is my limit on what I want to spend. Once that's gone, I can't do any more with it. So the 15,000 went on the van. I've got the van. I did my trip. I've done everything that I wanted to do in it. It's impressed me thoroughly. Honestly, it's fantastic to do that.
And if you want to buy it, you can head up.
If you want to buy it, yeah, you can. This is a bit of a sales pitch here. But then if someone's going to buy it back off, right? So then they're going to give me the 15 grand back, right? Then I've got 15 grand sitting in my hand, which I'd already spent before, and I thought that was gone because that was what I was doing for the trip. Now, yes, I've still spent 15 grand, but I can go out one more time with I've had my fun in something. It's gotten that back to me. And now I can go out one more time and do exactly the same thing, but one more time. So it's sort of double.
I get what
the
you're
increase.
saying.
You know what I mean in that aspect. So then it's like, so that's how I've just lived everything that I do. Like, come on, just progress through and always.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, 100%. Well, I don't think anyone's to tell you otherwise.
Nah.
I mean, people would say you're saved the 15, you had your fun, whatever. But no, I mean, you can do exactly what you want to do, and if it feels right in your mind, bro, go for it.
And all those people that are the ones that are complaining, they're going to work on Monday, Tuesday,
Enjoy
Wednesday.
work, guys.
Yeah, probably working.
That's me.
Probably working Saturdays to get a little bit extra cash. And here I am wondering where I'm going to go fishing and surfing next.
You legend. I got a question for you then. So you've been learning German. I guess you've been working in German. I'd say dialect is more your forte. But you went and you traveled through Italy and stuff.
Yeah.
You met some Germans,
some
females, some males. And you've also spoken.
Yeah.
How's that gone?
I had a classic one. So I was in Pompeii, right? And I pulled up and there was these two girls. They were in the van. They were in a really nice van. Like, I don't know, this thing was up there in the 70,000, 80,000.
Okay.
And I was admiring the van more than the women. And I'm just like having a bit of sus. But they must have caught on with like me looking towards them. And I'm just sort of like dodging around them because they were getting ready to go out to town. So they're getting all dressed up and everything. So I started having a conversation with them. And I knew that I seen the number plate. It was from Germany and they were talking German. So I was like, I'll just jump in and, try and speak a bit of German.
Yeah.
Now I didn't realize that I have more of an Austrian dialect than like a Hochdeutsch or something like this, right?
Yeah.
So I started talking. We were just having a chat and everything. I said to one of these girls, I was like, "Oh, your dialect is really easy to understand," because she spoke a very high German, and she's getting ready, right? And she stood up from the table, and she's like pointed down like to her dress, and she's like, "Yeah, well, when you look as good as this, you don't want to have a shit dialect like you." And I'm like, sorry. She's like, "Yeah, where did you learn German?" I was like, "In Austria." And she's like, "Yeah, obviously." And I'm like, "Well, fucking hell, I'm not gonna." Sorry. I'm like, "Why do I want to have a conversation with you guys?
Yeah.
Can I just look inside your van?"
Where is she from in Germany?
No idea.
Probably
in
like
the northern
north,
part,
yeah.
somewhere
Oh, there you
like
go.
around the Köln.
Deutsch.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but just the way that she stood up, her friend was very quiet. I think she felt awkward as well. But like they had nice dresses. But it was funny. Like the girl that said it, I think she was the less attractive friend out of the two, which made it even better for me because I was like, I would understand that if she said it, but since I mean,
Dude,
I'm
I feel
not
like you'd say something.
I'm
like
no
that
model
too.
myself, but I was like, yeah, no. If you're gonna say something like, don't pay me out about my accent and my dialect or where I learnt German, and then stand up and be like pointing to yourself like you're the next top, you're King Dick over
Germany's
there,
next.
Germany's next top model, and then be like, yeah, well, obviously, when you look as good as this, you don't want to have a shit dialect like you. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. Feelings over here.
Yeah,
come on,
you're
guys.
trying to like go out
I'm
of
just-
your way to speak.
I'm
She probably spoke
the-
English too.
the-
You're trying to like.
Oh, her parents were American.
Ah, there you go. Wow,
And I'm like,
that's probably explains why her statement. Sorry to all the Americans, but you are kind of like extravagant.
oh, God. Yeah, no, but it's funny to think like, because I spoke like a reasonable amount, not a lot, but a reasonable amount of German when I was away because there's so many people traveling from Germany. And also that when you get into some parts of Italy, a lot of them don't speak English. They know more German than they know English.
Right.
Which is funny to have because I struggle in German with people from Austria or people from Germany. But then when I speak to someone that speaks less in Italy, and then they struggle with me in German and I'm trying to help them in German to get this conversation going. And then you're like, oh, you get that like, oh, I've learned something. It's happened. I've actually done something in 3 years.
Yeah, but must feel good though. Like, I don't
come
know.
on, you have it. You can speak German as well.
Yeah, and I'm talking about myself. But I live here now, and I still feel like discouraged every day when I hear
that's why you need to go.
dialect.
That's why you need to go to
Yeah,
other countries,
and
man.
I'm
You need to
thinking-
get out there.
But I never thought, if I thought like, I always say this, 3 years ago, I'd never ever think that I'd even speak another language, let alone German. Like,
100%.
so for me, this is going to be so cool. Going home, like, I even explain sometimes to my family, my sister and stuff, and they're like, whoa, you're like really, you know a lot of German. I'm like, oh yeah, I actually do kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know, you kind of don't realize how much you pick up when
Nah.
you just live in like, because you always feel
100%,
like you're
yeah.
you're always below average, right? You're
Yeah.
always below average. 'Cause
Well,
you
you're
go to a
always
store-
going to be below average when you're living with the
Exactly.
people that are fluent
Yeah,
in it, or
100%.
that grew up here.
and with
always
multiple
speak it.
dialects,
Yeah.
bro. Like imagine you like one language and that's the only language. You can kind of judge your progress a bit easier. But when there's just like madness and there's like you drive 40 minutes that way
It's different.
and then it's like a different dialect and you're like, oh, well, I'm never gonna learn.
You go
this.
hit up some farmers over in the hills over here,
Yeah.
and they're just
Yeah.
like wailing, like no idea what the hell's going on. No, yeah, I'm hearing
hard.
you. But you do, you do. It comes to you at points. It comes to you at points when you don't even realize, and you just be having a conversation. I don't know if I said it. I'm not sure if I said it to you. I was when I got to Dubrovnik, and I was having this conversation with a guy, and I even impressed myself during the conversation because I wasn't even sure. Like in my mind, I'm like, wow. This whole conversation is just like really flowing and it's moving forward and
I'm
he's understanding me and
everything.
I'm
Yeah.
understanding him. And I'm like, yeah, nice. Happy days. It sort of has worked just going to work and chatting with people.
Mm.
So fuck all the people at work that said I'd never learn anything.
Yeah, you did it.
You guys are the one that's taught me.
You go back home to Australia and
Yeah, but
you
then,
can,
it's like when I talk with you, I talk with the guys back at home, and I'll get on the phone, and like I'll mess up like the grammatic side of things, or I'll say something like in the
English.
same in English. I'll say it like as I'm thinking it in German or something,
yeah.
or like I'll go to pronounce something like when I talk about the van, and it's like the Dachfenster or something like, or like
What's the Dachfenster?
the roof window,
Okay.
right? Because that when I put it in there, that's everything. That's in my mind. Like, what did I put in the roof? The Dachfenster.
Okay.
When I have to get it signed off, what is a Dachfenster? All right. And so then in my mind, when someone's like, oh, so have you had any problems? And I had a little leak in the roof. And I was like, yeah, so I had a leak in the Dachfenster and yeah, I had a bit of water coming through. And they're like, the what? And I'm like, the Dachfenster, the roof window. And they're like, the skylight? And I'm like, that's the one. That's the one. So you get that moment where you're just like, oh, shit. I've been saying this too often because then it's just impregnated in your brain. And you're like,
Impregnated. Is that a word?
Yeah, it's in there. It's in impregnated.
Yeah, pregnant. Okay, sorry.
Or imprinted. Imprinted, maybe. I don't know.
I think you're talking. I think he's talking about imprinted.
Imprinted, impregnated.
I love it.
Yeah. So, no, but all in all, can't wait to just get back out.
Yeah,
there.
well, the next potty we're going to do with you, hopefully, is going to be like after this second trip where you've had your backpack, you've done a bit of hitchhiking, you've been robbed.
I tell you what, if I put my
times.
backpack down and someone tows that,
someone just runs off with everything.
I'll be a broken man.
You should get a little fanny pack and put your passport in there. That's what I do. Maybe that's what I buy for you for your farewell.
A fanny pack?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Buy me some brains to go with it. Like I said, I don't even remember to lock the car sometimes.
Yeah. Do you lock it today?
It's in the mechanic.
Yeah. Do you
Okay.
lock it? Yeah.
No, I gave him the keys.
Oh, you got the key. Okay. So the van's probably been stolen.
Oh, well. It's not my liability anymore.
You got insurance?
No.
Oh, just forget about it. It's just 15.
Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. No. It's definitely got insurance on it. No one should steal it.
Nah, all right. Well, let's wrap it up. But is there anything that you want to ask me before we wrap up, or say, or pronounce?
When are you coming with me?
Yeah. Where are you going?
It doesn't matter where.
I would come with you for a week.
When are you making the venture? Your missus just went on a holiday.
She went on a holiday. We're going to Greece on September the 17th. I'll come with you for a week.
A week.
And if
Perfect.
you're
In a hostel.
like managing or like
I'll
working at a hostel,
I'll tell you what,
I'll
though,
come to that hostel.
we did speak about this. Sail Croatia.
yeah.
If anyone listens to this and they've been on the Sail Croatia, hit us up because I really want to know what it's all about. I've heard one side of what it is actually like, but I want to know if there's a bit more of a laid back, relaxed vibe about it because turning up there as a single dude, I think you can work it out pretty well for yourself.
Yeah. It looks like a pretty mad time. All right, cheers everybody. If you do want to flick Luke a message, just go to @VanWanderer on his Instagram. Find him there.
True.
Give
We'll
him a message.
give you a good price.
All right, cheers.
All right, guys, take it easy. Enjoy the podcast.
Later.
And keep on going. Bye.